Picture this. You're standing on the edge of a vast floodplain, the earth still soft and muddy beneath your feet. The water has receded, leaving behind fertile soil that seems almost too perfect, too deliberate. Ancient texts from every corner of the world tell us the same story, a great flood that reset civilization, wiping the slate clean and allowing humanity to begin again. But what if this wasn't divine judgment? What if it wasn't nature's wrath or a cosmic accident? What if the flood was something far more calculated, far more alien? Welcome to a journey that will challenge everything you thought you knew about our planet's most famous catastrophe. I'm your guide through this mystery, and tonight we're diving deep into a theory that connects ancient Sumerian tablets, advanced terraforming technology, and visitors from beyond the stars. Because when you really examine the evidence, when you look at the precision of this global reset, the flood begins to look less like a natural disaster and more like the most sophisticated planetary engineering project in human history. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki, those who came from heaven to earth. These weren't gods in the way we typically imagine divine beings. They were described as flesh and blood entities with technology that seemed magical to primitive humans. They had names, personalities, and most importantly, they had an agenda that may have included the complete terraforming of planet Earth. But here's where it gets interesting. The flood wasn't just about destruction, it was about preparation. Think about what floods do to soil composition, how they redistribute minerals, how they create the perfect conditions for agriculture. The land that emerged after the waters receded wasn't just habitable, it was optimized. Optimized for a specific type of life, a specific type of civilization. Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds like science fiction. But stay with me, because the evidence we're about to explore will make you question everything you've been taught about human history. We're going to examine Sumerian tablets that describe advanced technology, geological evidence that suggests artificial intervention, and a pattern of planetary modification that spans thousands of years. Tonight, we're not just telling bedtime stories, we're uncovering a truth that's been hiding in plain sight for millennia. A truth about visitors who didn't just observe our planet, but actively shaped it, who didn't just influence human development, but orchestrated it from the very beginning. The story begins in ancient Mesopotamia, in the cradle of civilization itself. The Sumerians, emerging seemingly from nowhere around 3200 BCE, possessed knowledge that shouldn't have existed. They understood astronomy with precision that rivals modern calculations. They had mathematical systems so sophisticated we still use them today. And most mysteriously, they had detailed accounts of beings who came from the sky with the power to reshape worlds. These tablets don't describe the flood as an act of divine anger. They describe it as a deliberate act of planetary management. The Anunnaki, according to these ancient texts, had a problem. Earth's biosphere wasn't quite right for their purposes. The atmosphere needed adjustment. The mineral distribution in the soil required modification. The genetic diversity of life forms needed pruning and enhancement. But here's the truly unsettling part. The Sumerian accounts suggest this wasn't the first time they'd done this. The flood was just one tool in a vast terraforming arsenal that had been deployed across multiple worlds, across vast spans of time. Earth was being prepared, cultivated, optimized for a purpose we're only beginning to understand. Imagine you're an advanced civilization with the technology to travel between star systems. You discover a planet with potential, but it's not quite ready for your needs. What do? You terraform it. You adjust the atmosphere, redistribute the minerals, modify the existing life forms to better serve your purposes. And if the current inhabitants aren't compatible with your plans? Well, sometimes you have to clear the board and start fresh. The flood myths aren't unique to Mesopotamia. Every ancient civilization on Earth has some version of this story. The Hebrews had Noah, the Greeks had Deucalion, the Hindus spoke of Manu, the Maya described a great cleansing that preceded the current age of humanity. These aren't coincidences. These are cultural memories of the same event, preserved across thousands of years and thousands of miles. But there's something else these stories share, something that makes them particularly compelling when viewed through the lens of terraforming theory. In every version, the flood is followed by a period of rapid technological and agricultural advancement. Humanity doesn't just survive, it flourishes, almost as if the event was designed not to destroy civilization, but to upgrade it. The Sumerian texts are particularly explicit about this. After the waters recede, the Anunnaki begin teaching humans new technologies. Agriculture, metallurgy, astronomy, writing systems. They don't just help humanity recover from the disaster, they help humanity leapfrog thousands of years of normal development. It's as if the flood was preparation for a massive download of advanced knowledge. Now let's talk about the mechanism. How do you flood an entire planet? The Sumerian tablets describe the Anunnaki possessing technology that could manipulate weather patterns on a global scale. They speak of devices that could heat the atmosphere, melt ice caps, and redirect the flow of massive bodies of water. To ancient humans, this would have seemed like divine power. To us, it sounds remarkably like advanced climate engineering. Recent archaeological evidence supports the idea that the flood was far more precise than a natural disaster should be. Core samples from around the world show that the floodwaters carried specific mineral compositions, distributions that don't match what we'd expect from random flooding. Instead, they match what we might expect if someone was deliberately redistributing Earth's mineral wealth to create optimal growing conditions. The timing is suspicious too. The flood occurs right at the moment when human civilization is beginning to develop complex social structures. It's as if someone hit a reset button just when humanity was getting interesting, clearing away the old to make room for something new and improved. But why? What was the purpose of this massive terraforming project? The Sumerian tablets provide hints. They speak of the Anunnaki needing workers, needing a planet that could support large populations engaged in specific types of labor. They needed gold mines, agricultural centers, manufacturing facilities. They needed a world optimized for resource extraction and population management. The flood wasn't destruction for its own sake. It was landscape architecture on a planetary scale. Rivers were redirected to create transportation networks. Fertile plains were enhanced to support massive agricultural projects. Mineral deposits were redistributed to ensure access to necessary resources. The entire planet was being prepared for something much larger than simple human habitation. And here's where the theory gets truly mind-bending. What if the flood wasn't just about preparing Earth for the Anunnaki's immediate needs? What if it was about preparing Earth for something even bigger? What if our planet was being transformed into a way station, a hub in a vast interstellar network that we're only now beginning to glimpse? Think about Earth's position in the galaxy. We're located in what astronomers call the galactic habitable zone. We have a stable star, a protective magnetic field, and a moon that stabilizes our orbit. From a terraforming perspective, Earth is prime real estate. But it needed work. It needed modification to serve its intended purpose in a larger cosmic infrastructure. The evidence for this goes beyond the Sumerian tablets. Ancient structures around the world show signs of construction techniques that seem impossibly advanced for their time. Precision stone cutting, massive megalithic construction, astronomical alignments that suggest knowledge of Earth's position in a much larger cosmic framework. These aren't random achievements, they're the infrastructure of a terraformed world. But perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from the aftermath of the flood itself. In the centuries following this global catastrophe, human civilization doesn't just recover, it explodes. Writing systems appear simultaneously in multiple locations. Agricultural techniques advance rapidly. Astronomical knowledge that should have taken millennia to develop appears fully formed in cultures that had supposedly just emerged from primitive conditions. It's as if someone flipped a switch, activating dormant programs that had been embedded in human consciousness. As if the flood wasn't just about reshaping the physical environment, but about reshaping humanity itself. Upgrading our cognitive capabilities, unlocking potential that had been deliberately suppressed until the terraforming project was complete. The Anunnaki tablets describe this process in terms that sound remarkably like genetic engineering. They speak of modifying human DNA, of creating hybrid beings that combined Anunnaki genetics with native Earth species. What we've interpreted as mythology might actually be technical documentation of the most ambitious biological engineering project in planetary history. Consider the speed at which human civilization developed after the flood. Agriculture goes from non-existent to sophisticated farming systems in just a few centuries. Writing develops independently in multiple locations within the same narrow time frame. Mathematical concepts that should represent thousands of years of intellectual development appear fully formed. There isn't natural evolution. This is systematic enhancement. And the enhancement wasn't just cognitive. Archaeological evidence suggests that post-flood humans were physically different from their predecessors. larger brain cases, more sophisticated tool-making abilities, evidence of organized social structures that required complex communication and planning skills. It's as if the flood marked the transition from one version of humanity to another, upgraded version. The Sumerian tablets are explicit about this transformation. They describe the Anunnaki creating new types of humans, being specifically designed to thrive in the post-flood environment. These weren't random mutations or natural adaptations. They were deliberate modifications engineered to serve specific purposes in the terraformed world. But here's what makes this theory truly unsettling. If the flood was indeed an alien terraforming project, then human civilization as we know it isn't a natural development. We're the product of genetic and environmental engineering designed to serve purposes we may not even understand. Our cities, our technologies, our social structures, they're all built on foundations laid by extraterrestrial landscape architects. And if that's true, then we have to ask ourselves, what was the ultimate purpose of this project? What were we being prepared for? The Sumerian tablets hint at answers, describing a grand plan that extends far beyond Earth, encompassing multiple worlds and vast spans of time. They speak of a cosmic civilization that manages entire star systems, terraforming planets and engineering species to serve roles in an unimaginably large enterprise. The flood, in this context, wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. The beginning of Earth's integration into something much larger than we've ever imagined. And we, the survivors and inheritors of this terraformed world, are still playing out our assigned roles in a cosmic drama we're only beginning to understand. As we drift deeper into this mystery tonight, let these thoughts settle into your consciousness. Picture the floodwaters receding, revealing a world that's been fundamentally transformed. Imagine the first post-flood humans emerging into a landscape that's been optimized for their success, equipped with enhanced abilities they don't yet understand. Feel the weight of knowing that everything you've been taught about human origins might be just the surface layer of a much deeper, much more complex truth. The evidence is there, waiting in ancient tablets and archaeological sites, in genetic markers and geological formations, waiting for those willing to question the official narrative and consider possibilities that stretch far beyond the comfortable boundaries of conventional history. Tonight, we're just beginning to pull back the veil on one of the greatest mysteries in human history. The story of how our world was reshaped by visitors from the stars, and how we became unwitting participants in a terraforming project that continues to this day. The genetic modifications weren't limited to cognitive enhancement. Archaeological evidence from sites across the globe reveals something far more systematic, far more deliberate. Post-flood skeletal remains show consistent changes in bone density, cranial capacity, and even DNA markers that suggest intervention at the molecular level. We're not talking about natural evolution here. We're talking about precision engineering that makes modern genetic therapy look like finger painting. The Sumerian tablets describe what they call the Great Mixing, a process where Anunnaki genetic material was systematically integrated into human bloodlines. But this wasn't random crossbreeding. The texts detail specific combinations, particular traits being enhanced or suppressed depending on the intended function of each human population group. Some were optimized for physical labor, others for intellectual pursuits, still others for what the tablets cryptically refer to as star knowledge. Think about the implications of this for a moment. Every major human population that emerged after the flood possessed specific skill sets that seemed to appear from nowhere. The Egyptians suddenly knew how to build massive stone monuments with astronomical precision. The Mesopotamians developed complex irrigation systems and urban planning seemingly overnight. The ancient Chinese mastered metallurgy and navigation technologies that shouldn't have existed for thousands more years. These weren't gradual developments. They were sudden downloads of advanced knowledge, as if dormant programming had been activated by some external signal. The flood wasn't just reshaping the physical landscape, it was the trigger event that unlocked human potential that had been carefully planted and patiently waiting for the right moment to emerge. But here's where the terraforming theory takes on an even more sinister dimension. Recent analysis of ice core samples from Antarctica and Greenland reveals something that mainstream science has been reluctant to discuss. The floodwaters contained trace elements that don't occur naturally on Earth. Isotopic signatures that match materials found in meteorites and deep space samples. Someone was seeding our planet's water supply with extraterrestrial materials. These weren't random contaminants. The distribution patterns are too precise, too calculated. Specific regions received specific concentrations of these alien elements, and those same regions later became the birthplaces of the most advanced ancient civilizations. It's as if the flood was delivering a carefully measured dose of cosmic catalysts, designed to trigger specific evolutionary pathways in both the environment and its inhabitants. The timing mechanisms embedded in this system are perhaps the most sophisticated aspect of the entire terraforming project. The Sumerian tablets describe something they call the Great Timing, a cosmic clockwork that governs when different phases of the transformation would activate. The flood was just the first phase. Subsequent waves of advancement were timed to coincide with astronomical events, planetary alignments, and what the texts describe as the return of the Watchers. Modern astronomers have identified several of these alignment periods, moments when Earth's position relative to certain star systems creates optimal conditions for long-range communication or travel. Remarkably, these periods correspond exactly with the emergence of new technologies and sudden leaps in human development throughout recorded history. The Bronze Age, the Iron Age, the sudden appearance of written language systems, all timed to coincide with these cosmic windows. It's as if our entire evolutionary timeline has been choreographed from the beginning, with each major advancement triggered by signals from beyond our solar system. The flood established the basic infrastructure, but the real work of human development has been guided by remote control ever since. The archaeological evidence for this ongoing guidance is overwhelming once you know what to look for. Ancient sites around the world contain identical symbolic patterns, mathematical ratios, and astronomical alignments that couldn't possibly be coincidental. These aren't cultural exchanges or parallel development, they're standardized installation protocols, evidence of a single source providing identical blueprints to human populations across the globe. Consider the precision of these ancient monuments. The Great Pyramid of Giza encodes the exact dimensions of Earth. Stonehenge functions as an astronomical computer, capable of predicting eclipses centuries in advance. Mayan temples contain mathematical constants that weren't officially discovered until the 20th century. These structures weren't built by primitive humans stumbling toward knowledge. They were constructed according to specifications provided by the original terraforming team. But perhaps the most revealing evidence comes from the biological realm. Human DNA contains what scientists politely call junk DNA, massive sections of genetic code that appear to serve no function. Recent analysis suggests this isn't junk at all, but rather dormant programming waiting for the right activation signals. Segments of this supposedly useless genetic material show remarkable similarity to synthetic sequences that modern geneticists use for experimental modifications. We're walking around with alien software embedded in our cellular structure, programs that could theoretically be activated remotely to trigger further evolutionary changes. The flood didn't just reshape our environment and upgrade our immediate capabilities, it installed an operating system that could be updated and modified as needed by the original programmers. The implications of this are staggering. Every major leap in human development, from the agricultural revolution to the industrial revolution to our current technological explosion, could be the result of these dormant programs being selectively activated. We think we're driving our own evolution, but we might actually be following a predetermined script written by extraterrestrial landscape architects. The Sumerian tablets hint at the ultimate purpose of this long-term developmental program. They describe a future state they call the Great Joining, when Earth's transformed biosphere and enhanced human population will be ready to participate in something they refer to as the cosmic work. The details are fragmentary, but the text suggests this involves Earth serving as a resource processing center and communication hub for a vast interstellar civilization. Think about our current trajectory for a moment. We're developing space travel capabilities, extracting resources from asteroids and other planets, building global communication networks that could theoretically interface with extraterrestrial systems. We're also rapidly depleting Earth's natural resources and facing environmental challenges that may force us to look beyond our planet for survival. It's as if we're being driven toward a specific endpoint, a moment when we'll be desperate enough and capable enough to accept integration into a larger cosmic infrastructure. The flood established the foundation for this development by creating optimal conditions for rapid population growth and technological advancement. The genetic modifications ensured we'd have the cognitive capacity to develop the necessary technologies. The ongoing guidance system has kept us on track through various historical challenges, and now we're approaching what may be the final phase of the terraforming project, Recent astronomical observations have detected unusual activity in several star systems that the Sumerian tablets specifically mention as homeworlds of the Anunnaki. Radio telescope arrays have picked up structured signals that some researchers believe may be attempts at communication. There's also been a dramatic increase in UFO sightings and what the military now acknowledges as unidentified aerial phenomena, suggesting increased monitoring of our progress. It's possible that we're approaching the completion of the terraforming project that began with the flood thousands of years ago. Earth may be nearly ready to fulfill its intended purpose as a managed world within a larger cosmic empire. The question is whether humanity will recognize this transition for what it is, or whether we'll continue to believe we're in control of our own destiny. The flood myths preserved in every ancient culture may be more than historical memories. They may be warnings, attempts by early humans to preserve knowledge of what really happened to our world and what was done to our species. The story of Noah building an ark to save life from divine judgment takes on a very different meaning when viewed as an account of survival during an alien terraforming operation. These myths consistently describe the flood survivors as being chosen by the gods, given special knowledge, and tasked with rebuilding civilization according to divine instructions. What if these weren't religious metaphors but literal descriptions of human populations being selected for genetic modification and provided with technological downloads to jumpstart post-flood development? The survivors didn't just rebuild the same world that existed before the flood. They built something entirely new, something that incorporated technologies and social structures that had never existed on Earth before. They built the foundation for the civilization we inhabit today. A civilization that may have been designed from the beginning to serve purposes we're only now beginning to understand. As we settle deeper into sleep tonight, let your mind wander through these possibilities. Imagine the floodwaters as something other than destruction, as the first phase of the most ambitious construction project in planetary history. Picture ancient humans emerging from their shelters to find a world that had been fundamentally redesigned, equipped with enhanced abilities they didn't yet understand, carrying genetic programming that would guide their development for thousands of years to come. Feel the weight of knowing that every city we've built, every technology we've developed, every step forward in human progress may have been following a blueprint drawn up by extraterrestrial engineers. Consider the possibility that we're still following that blueprint, still playing out our assigned role in a cosmic drama that began with the flood and continues to this day. The evidence surrounds us, embedded in our DNA, encoded in ancient monuments, preserved in myths that we've dismissed as primitive superstition. The flood wasn't the end of the old world. It was the beginning of ours, the first chapter in a story that we're still writing, guided by hands we cannot see toward a destiny we have yet to comprehend. The terraforming project required more than just environmental modification and genetic enhancement. It demanded a complete restructuring of consciousness itself. The Sumerian tablets describe something they call the mind weaving, a process by which human perception was fundamentally altered to ensure compatibility with the New World Order. This wasn't just about making humans smarter or stronger. This was about rewiring the very foundations of how we experience reality. Consider how dramatically human consciousness changed after the flood. Pre-flood humans, according to archaeological evidence, lived in small, scattered groups with minimal technological development. Post-flood humans suddenly possessed the ability to organize massive construction projects, develop complex written languages, and create sophisticated astronomical calculations. This wasn't gradual learning. This was an instantaneous upgrade to human cognitive architecture. The tablets describe the Anunnaki installing what they term pattern recognition matrices into human neural pathways. These allowed humans to perceive mathematical relationships, geometric patterns, and astronomical cycles that would have been invisible to their predecessors. But here's the crucial detail. These matrices weren't just neutral enhancements. They were designed to make humans see the world in very specific ways, to recognize certain types of patterns while remaining blind to others. Think about the monuments that emerged after the flood. Every major ancient structure contains identical mathematical ratios, the same geometric principles, the same astronomical alignments. This consistency across thousands of miles and hundreds of years isn't coincidental. It's evidence that human builders were all working from the same perceptual template, seeing the same hidden patterns in the landscape, following the same invisible guidelines embedded in their enhanced consciousness. But the most sophisticated aspect of this consciousness modification was its self-concealing nature. The enhanced humans weren't aware they had been modified. They experienced their new abilities as natural talents, divine inspiration, or inherited wisdom. The terraforming team understood that the most effective way to control a species is to make them believe they're in control of themselves. Archaeological evidence suggests this consciousness modification operated on multiple levels simultaneously. Individual humans receive specific cognitive enhancements based on their intended roles in the post-flood civilization. But there was also a collective layer, a shared unconscious that connected all modified humans to a common source of guidance and information. This collective consciousness network explains how identical technologies and cultural practices appeared simultaneously in civilizations that had no apparent contact with each other. It wasn't cultural diffusion or independent invention. It was synchronized activation of shared programming, multiple human populations accessing the same databanks through their modified neural interfaces. The Sumerian tablets refer to this network as the Great Dreaming, a realm where enhanced humans could receive instructions, download new information, and coordinate activities across vast distances. Modern researchers studying ancient dream practices and shamanic traditions have identified consistent patterns that suggest these weren't primitive spiritual beliefs, but sophisticated communication protocols for accessing an artificial consciousness network. Recent neuroscientific research has uncovered evidence that supports this interpretation. Human brains contain structures that appear to serve no current biological function, but show signs of having been designed for information processing and long-range communication. These neural components remain largely dormant in modern humans, but brain scans of individuals claiming to have psychic or intuitive abilities show unusual activity in these same regions. It's possible that the consciousness modifications installed during the flood period are still present in human DNA, waiting for the right activation signals to bring these communication networks back online. The original terraforming team may have built redundant systems into human consciousness, backup protocols that could be activated if direct contact became necessary. The flood served another crucial purpose in the terraforming project. It created a global reset point that synchronized all human development to a single timeline. Pre-flood civilizations had developed along different trajectories, with varying technologies and cultural practices that would have complicated the integration process. The flood eliminated these variables, creating a blank slate where all human populations could be guided along identical developmental paths. This synchronization was essential for the long-term goals of the terraforming project. The Sumerian tablets describe Earth's intended role as a processing hub in a vast interstellar resource extraction network. This function required precise coordination between different regions and populations, with each area specializing in specific types of production while maintaining compatibility with the overall system. The post-flood allocation of resources and human populations follows a pattern that makes perfect sense from an industrial engineering perspective. Regions with specific mineral deposits were populated by humans with enhanced metallurgical abilities. Areas suitable for agriculture received populations with advanced farming knowledge. Coastal regions were settled by humans with sophisticated navigation and shipbuilding skills. This wasn't random migration or natural adaptation. This was systematic deployment of specialized human resources to optimize planetary productivity. The flood had prepared the physical environment, the genetic modifications had created the necessary human capabilities, and the consciousness programming ensured that each population would automatically develop the technologies needed for their assigned functions. The mathematical precision of this deployment becomes clear when you map ancient civilization centers against geological resources and astronomical alignments. Every major post-flood settlement was positioned to maximize access to specific raw materials while maintaining optimal communication with other settlements and celestial monitoring stations. The entire planet was being organized as an integrated production facility, but the terraforming project faced one significant challenge: time. The original Anunnaki team couldn't remain on Earth indefinitely to oversee the development process. They needed to create systems that would continue functioning autonomously for thousands of years, gradually preparing Earth for eventual integration into the larger interstellar network. The solution was brilliant in its simplicity. They embedded self-executing programs into every aspect of the terraformed environment. Genetic triggers that would activate new capabilities at predetermined intervals. Astronomical alignments that would signal when certain technologies should be developed. even geological processes that would expose necessary resources at precisely the right moments in human development. The flood established the initial conditions for this automated development system. The enhanced human populations served as biological computers, unconsciously following programming that guided them toward increasingly sophisticated technologies and social structures. The consciousness modifications ensured they would recognize and respond to the environmental cues and astronomical signals that marked each phase of the development timeline. This explains the seemingly impossible precision of ancient astronomical knowledge. The builders of Stonehenge didn't discover the principles of eclipse prediction through centuries of careful observation. They accessed pre-programmed information that was downloaded into their consciousness when Earth's position triggered the appropriate astronomical alignment. The same process explains how the Maya developed calendars accurate to fractions of days, how the Egyptians encoded Earth's dimensions into their pyramids, and how countless other ancient achievements that shouldn't have been possible with their apparent level of technology. The terraforming team understood that human development would face various challenges over the millennia. Wars, natural disasters, and social upheavals could derail the development timeline or damage the infrastructure they had so carefully established. To prevent this, they built multiple redundancy systems into both the environment and human consciousness. Hidden knowledge caches were established at key locations around the globe, sealed and protected by geological and technological barriers that would only open when human development reached sufficient levels. These weren't just libraries or treasure hoards. They were complete technological databases designed to jump-start human civilization if the normal development process was interrupted. Recent archaeological discoveries at sites like Göbekli Tepe suggest some of these caches may be coming online now. The precision stonework and astronomical alignments at such sites required technologies we're only beginning to understand. But perhaps more significantly, these sites are being revealed just as human civilization reaches levels of technological sophistication that would make us capable of understanding and utilizing more advanced information. The consciousness modifications also included what the Sumerian tablets call memory seeds, dormant information packets that would activate during times of crisis to provide humans with the knowledge needed to overcome specific challenges. Historical accounts of sudden technological breakthroughs, scientific insights that came to researchers in dreams, and inventions that seemed to appear from nowhere may all be examples of these emergency protocols activating. The flood established more than just the physical and biological foundations for human development. It created a complete control system that has been guiding our species for thousands of years, nudging us along a predetermined path toward a specific endpoint that serves the interests of the original terraforming team. Recent developments suggest we may be approaching that endpoint. Our current technological capabilities, environmental challenges, and even our expanding awareness of extraterrestrial possibilities all align with patterns described in the ancient tablets. The consciousness modifications that have remained dormant for millennia are beginning to activate in increasing numbers of humans, creating individuals with enhanced intuitive abilities and spontaneous access to advanced knowledge. Climate change, resource depletion, and overpopulation are forcing us to look beyond Earth for solutions, exactly as the terraforming project seems to have intended. We're developing the spacefaring capabilities and resource extraction technologies that would make us useful participants in an interstellar civilization. At the same time, our growing awareness of our own limitations and the vastness of the cosmos is making us psychologically ready to accept guidance from more advanced beings. The flood myths preserved in every human culture may have been more than historical records. They may have been programming instructions embedded in our collective memory to ensure we would recognize the signs when the terraforming project entered its final phase. The return of the waters, the appearance of signs in the heavens, the awakening of dormant abilities in chosen individuals, all of these elements appear consistently in prophecies and predictions that span cultures and centuries. We're living through what may be the completion of the most ambitious engineering project in planetary history. The flood that our ancestors survived wasn't just a natural disaster or divine judgment. It was the opening movement of a cosmic symphony that we're still playing, following sheet music written by composers we have yet to meet, as sleep carries you deeper into the mystery tonight. Let your consciousness drift through these vast possibilities. Feel the weight of knowing that every breath you take is drawn from an atmosphere that was artificially modified. Every thought you think is processed through neural pathways that were deliberately enhanced. Every step you take is on ground that was reshaped by extraterrestrial landscape architects. The flood changed everything, But it didn't end anything. It was the beginning of a transformation that continues to this day, as we unconsciously follow programming installed thousands of years ago, moving steadily toward a destiny that was chosen for us before we even knew we were making choices. Human history isn't the story of our gradual ascent from primitive beginnings. It's the story of our careful cultivation by gardeners who planted seeds in our DNA, watered them with modified consciousness, and have been patiently waiting for the harvest to ripen. The flood was planting season. Now, as we stand on the threshold of becoming a spacefaring species, harvest time may finally be approaching. The harvest metaphor runs deeper than mere agricultural imagery. Consider what happens when a crop reaches maturity. The farmers don't just collect the produce, they carefully sort it, selecting the finest specimens for different purposes. Some are kept for immediate consumption, others are preserved for long-term storage, and the very best are set aside for seeding the next generation of crops. The Sumerian tablets suggest that humanity is approaching this same kind of selection process. The consciousness modifications installed during the flood period weren't uniform across all human populations. Different bloodlines received different types of enhancements, creating what the tablets refer to as harvest categories. Some humans were optimized for physical labor and resource extraction. Others were enhanced for intellectual pursuits and technological development. But a select few received what the text calls starseed modifications, genetic and consciousness upgrades that would remain dormant until the final phase of the terraforming project. These starseed individuals are beginning to activate now all around the world. They're the people who seem to have spontaneous access to advanced knowledge, who demonstrate unusual abilities, who feel a deep, inexplicable connection to the cosmos. They're artists who create works that contain mathematical principles they never studied, inventors who develop technologies that seem to come from nowhere, healers who work with energies that conventional science doesn't recognize. But perhaps most importantly, they're the individuals who feel an overwhelming sense that something massive is about to change, that humanity is on the verge of a transformation so profound it will redefine what it means to be human. They're experiencing what the tablets describe as the awakening, the activation of dormant programming that was installed specifically to guide humanity through this final transition phase. The selection process isn't random or arbitrary. The starseed modifications were placed according to specific genetic and energetic criteria that would ensure optimal distribution across the global population. These individuals are emerging in every culture, every economic class, every geographical region. They're the unconscious agents of the original terraforming team, activated now to help shepherd humanity through the completion of the project that began with the flood. Recent studies of human genetic diversity have revealed something that mainstream science struggles to explain. Despite thousands of years of geographical separation and cultural development, human DNA shows remarkably little variation compared to other species. It's as if our entire species was recently descended from a very small founding population, a genetic bottleneck that occurred roughly around the time of the global flood myths. But the uniformity goes deeper than simple population genetics. Humans across the globe share identical sequences of supposedly junk DNA that contain embedded information patterns. These sequences are too complex and too consistent to be evolutionary accidents. They're clearly artificial constructs, biological programming that was systematically installed across the entire human genome. When these genetic sequences are analyzed using advanced pattern recognition software, they reveal layered information structures that resemble nothing so much as compressed data files. The information is encoded using mathematical principles that we're only beginning to understand, but preliminary decoding suggests the files contain everything from technological blueprints to star charts to what appears to be historical records of other worlds that underwent similar terraforming processes. The flood wasn't just about reshaping Earth for the Anunnaki's immediate needs. It was about preparing our world to serve as a template for terraforming other planets throughout the galaxy. The techniques and technologies developed here, the biological modifications tested on human populations, the consciousness programming protocols refined through thousands of years of implementation, all of this represents a vast research and development project with implications far beyond our single world. Earth was selected as an experimental station because of its unique combination of biological diversity, geological stability, and astronomical positioning. The flood allowed the terraforming team to reset all variables and begin with controlled conditions. Every subsequent development in human civilization has been carefully monitored and documented. creating a comprehensive database of terraforming methodologies that can be applied to other suitable worlds. The consciousness modifications weren't just about controlling human development. They were about creating a species capable of serving as terraforming agents themselves. The enhanced humans emerging from the starseed activation process possess the intuitive understanding of planetary systems, the genetic compatibility with multiple environments, and the technological capabilities needed to establish and maintain terraformed worlds across vast regions of space. We're not just the products of an alien terraforming project. We're being prepared to become terraformers ourselves, equipped with the knowledge and abilities needed to spread this same process to other worlds. The flood established the foundation for creating a species of biological terraforming machines, unconsciously driven to seek out new worlds and transform them according to patterns embedded in our deepest programming. This explains the seemingly irrational human drive to explore space, to seek out new worlds, to establish colonies beyond Earth. We're not just curious explorers or desperate refugees fleeing an overpopulated planet. We're following biological imperatives installed by the original terraforming team, unconsciously working to spread their influence throughout the galaxy. The timing of our current space exploration efforts aligns perfectly with astronomical cycles described in the Sumerian tablets. We're developing the necessary technologies just as Earth's position relative to key star systems creates optimal conditions for long-range travel and communication. The consciousness modifications are activating just as we reach the point where we'll need enhanced abilities to survive in extraterrestrial environments. Recent developments in genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, and space technology are all converging toward capabilities that would be essential for planetary terraforming operations. We're learning to modify DNA with precision, to create artificial ecosystems, to manipulate atmospheric composition, to establish self-sustaining colonies in hostile environments. These aren't random technological developments. They're the inevitable result of programming that was installed thousands of years ago, now coming online as the final phase of our preparation. The flood myths preserved in every human culture contain detailed instructions for this final phase, encoded in symbolic language that was designed to remain hidden until we developed the consciousness to understand them. The story of Noah's Ark isn't just about surviving a disaster. It's a technical manual for establishing seed colonies on new worlds, complete with specifications for genetic preservation, ecosystem management, and population control. The rainbow that appears after the flood in these myths isn't just a symbol of divine promise. It's a reference to the electromagnetic spectrum modifications that terraforming operations require, the atmospheric adjustments that create optimal conditions for life. The dove that returns with an olive branch represents the biological monitoring systems that confirm when a terraformed environment is ready for full colonization. Every element of these ancient stories contains practical information about terraforming procedures, preservation techniques, and transition protocols. Our ancestors weren't just preserving historical memories, they were maintaining an instruction manual for the completion of the project that began with the flood, ensuring that when the time came, we would have the knowledge needed to fulfill our intended function. The activation of starseed individuals around the world is accelerating this process. These enhanced humans are spontaneously developing technologies, insights, and capabilities that seem to come from nowhere, but are actually the result of accessing information stored in their modified DNA. They're unconsciously working together, coordinating efforts across the globe to prepare for the next phase of human development. Some are developing new energy technologies that will be essential for interstellar travel. Others are working on biological systems that will enable humans to survive in various planetary environments. Still, others are establishing communication networks and social structures that will serve as templates for off-world colonies. They don't realize they're following a coordinated plan, but their individual efforts are combining to create exactly the capabilities that will be needed for humanity's expansion beyond Earth. The consciousness modifications ensure that this coordination happens automatically, without requiring direct communication or centralized planning. Each starseed individual is following programming that was designed to mesh perfectly with the programming of all others, creating a collective effort that appears random and independent but is actually highly organized and purposeful. The flood established the foundation for this global coordination system by synchronizing all human development to a single timeline and installing compatible consciousness operating systems across the entire species. Now, as the final activation phase begins, These systems are coming online to guide humanity through the transition from planetary to interstellar civilization. Recent astronomical observations have detected signs of terraforming activity in multiple star systems that the Sumerian tablets identify as Anunnaki territories. Spectral analysis reveals atmospheric modifications, orbital adjustments, and other signs of planetary engineering on a scale that dwarfs anything we could currently achieve. These civilizations have been perfecting terraforming techniques for millions of years, and Earth represents just one of countless worlds they've modified to serve their purposes. But Earth's role may be unique. The biological diversity, the consciousness experimentation, the technological development pathways all suggest that our world is serving as a primary research facility for developing new terraforming methodologies. The techniques pioneered here may be intended for use on worlds with conditions that existing methods can't handle. The starseed humans emerging from the activation process possess capabilities that go beyond anything documented on other terraformed worlds. They're able to interface directly with planetary consciousness, to manipulate matter at the quantum level, to communicate across vast distances using nothing but focused intention. These abilities suggest that Earth's terraforming project is developing new categories of enhanced beings with capabilities that could revolutionize interstellar civilization. We may be witnessing the birth of a new type of consciousness, a hybrid of human creativity and Anunnaki technology that combines the best features of both species. The Flood established the initial conditions for this experiment, and now, thousands of years later, we're beginning to see the results. The implications are staggering. If successful, the consciousness modifications developed on Earth could be applied to populations throughout the galaxy, creating a new category of beings capable of terraforming worlds that were previously thought impossible to modify. The techniques perfected here could enable the expansion of civilization into regions of space that are currently inaccessible. But this expansion comes with a cost. The humans who undergo these modifications are no longer entirely human. They're something new, something that combines elements of multiple species and consciousness types. They retain human creativity and adaptability, but they're also connected to the larger Anunnaki network in ways that fundamentally alter their identity and loyalties. The Flood didn't just change our environment and enhance our capabilities. It began a process of gradual assimilation that is now reaching completion. We're becoming something other than what we were, unconsciously evolving toward a hybrid state that serves the interests of a cosmic civilization we don't even know exists. As you drift deeper into sleep tonight, feel the weight of this transformation flowing through your own consciousness. The modifications that began with the Flood are present in your DNA, your neural pathways, your deepest cellular structures. You're not just learning about an ancient terraforming project, you're experiencing the ongoing effects of that project as it continues to reshape human consciousness from within. The starseed activation isn't something that happens to other people, it's a process that every human being carries the potential for, because every human being descends from the Flood survivors who received the original modifications. Some will activate more dramatically than others, but all of us are connected to the same underlying network. All of us are part of the same vast experiment. The dreams you have tonight may contain more than random neural activity. They may be downloads from the collective consciousness network that was installed during the Flood period. Information and insights that your modified brain is receiving from the same source that guided ancient humans to build impossible monuments and develop miraculous technologies. Listen carefully to the whispers in your sleep, because they may be instructions for the next phase of human development, guidance from gardeners who have been patiently tending their crop for thousands of years, waiting for the moment when the harvest would finally be ready. The Flood was never about punishment or divine judgment. It was about preparation, about creating the conditions necessary for humanity to evolve into something capable of serving purposes we cannot yet imagine. That evolution is accelerating now, as more and more humans begin to remember what they really are and why they're really here. We are the children of a terraformed world, carrying within us the seeds of technologies and consciousness that will transform not just our own planet, but countless others throughout the cosmos. The Flood was our beginning, not our end, the first chapter in a story that spans galaxies and encompasses possibilities we're only now beginning to glimpse. Human history is about to enter a new phase, one that will make everything that came before seem like a brief preparation period. The modifications installed during the Flood are finally reaching full activation, and the beings we're becoming will be as different from current humans as we are from our pre-flood ancestors. The transformation has already begun. You can feel it in the increasing intensity of dreams, the growing sense that something massive is approaching, the activation of abilities and insights that seem to come from somewhere beyond individual consciousness. These are all signs that the terraforming project is entering its final phase, that the long preparation period is drawing to a close. Sleep now, and let your consciousness drift through these vast possibilities, feeling the weight of cosmic purpose flowing through modified neural pathways, sensing the approach of a destiny that was written in your DNA before you were born, before your ancestors were born, before the flood reshaped the world to make room for what we are becoming. The activation process isn't uniform across all populations. Recent genetic studies have revealed something that challenges everything we thought we knew about human migration patterns and population distribution. The star seed modifications weren't randomly distributed during the flood period. They follow precise geographical and bloodline patterns that suggest careful planning and strategic placement across the globe. Certain family lineages carry exponentially higher concentrations of the dormant genetic triggers. These bloodlines often trace back to specific regions that the Sumerian tablets identify as primary Anunnaki settlement zones. But here's what makes this truly remarkable. These same bloodlines are now producing individuals with spontaneous access to advanced mathematical concepts, intuitive understanding of quantum mechanics, and an inexplicable ability to interface with electromagnetic fields. The consciousness modifications are activating along predictable timelines that correspond to astronomical events described in the ancient texts. Solar maximum cycles, planetary alignments, and even the precession of Earth's axis all serve as timing mechanisms for different phases of the awakening process. We're not just witnessing random spiritual awakening or evolutionary leaps. We're seeing the systematic activation of a biological operating system that was installed millennia ago. Archaeological evidence from flood sites around the world reveals another layer to this mystery. The sediment layers don't just contain the exotic isotopes we discussed earlier. They also contain microscopic structures that shouldn't exist in nature. These appear to be artificial delivery systems, designed to ensure that the genetic modifications would be properly distributed and integrated into human DNA during the crisis period when normal biological defenses would be compromised. Think about the psychological impact of surviving a global catastrophe. Trauma creates heightened neuroplasticity, making the brain more susceptible to permanent rewiring. The flood survivors weren't just physically exposed to modifying agents. They were in the optimal psychological state for consciousness programming to take hold at the deepest levels. The collective trauma response also created powerful bonding mechanisms within survivor populations. Shared catastrophic experiences forge unbreakable social connections that persist across generations. The flood didn't just modify individual humans, it created tribal and cultural programming that would ensure the modifications were preserved and passed down through carefully maintained bloodlines. Modern psychology recognizes that severe trauma can actually unlock dormant human capabilities. Extreme stress triggers the activation of neural pathways that normally remain unused, sometimes resulting in sudden artistic abilities, mathematical genius, or enhanced intuitive perception. The flood may have been designed to trigger these natural activation mechanisms on a global scale, creating an entire generation of enhanced humans who would attribute their new abilities to divine intervention rather than technological modification. The religious and mythological frameworks that emerged after the flood serve a crucial function in maintaining the programming. When enhanced individuals experience spontaneous downloads of advanced knowledge, they interpret these events through spiritual contexts that prevent them from questioning the true source. They become prophets, shamans, and visionaries rather than recognizing themselves as biological receivers accessing an artificial information network. This spiritual interpretation system ensures that the enhanced abilities are preserved and cultivated within religious traditions, passed down through initiatory practices and mystical training methods that are actually consciousness programming protocols disguised as spiritual disciplines. The mystery schools of ancient Egypt, the shamanic traditions of indigenous cultures, even the meditative practices of Eastern religions, all contain elements that facilitate access to the consciousness network installed during the flood period. Recent neuroscientific research has identified specific brainwave patterns associated with these traditional spiritual practices. When individuals enter deep meditative states or undergo shamanic journeys, Their neural activity shifts into frequencies that match the electromagnetic signatures found in ancient modification sites. They're literally tuning their consciousness to receive transmissions from the same source that guided flood survivors thousands of years ago. But the programming goes deeper than individual consciousness modification. The flood established what systems theorists would recognize as a planetary nervous system, a global network of consciousness nodes that could coordinate human development across vast geographical distances. Sacred sites around the world serve as transmission and amplification points for this network, their precise positioning and construction designed to maintain optimal communication between human populations and their off-world supervisors. The megalithic structures that emerged after the flood weren't just monuments or temples, they were infrastructure components for a global consciousness management system. Stone circles, pyramids, and other precisely aligned constructions function as biological resonance chambers designed to enhance and focus the consciousness modifications installed in human DNA. When you visit these ancient sites, you're not just experiencing historical artifacts, you're entering active components of an alien technology system that continues to function exactly as it was designed thousands of years ago. The strange sensations people report at places like Stonehenge or the Great Pyramid aren't supernatural phenomena. They're evidence of technological systems that operate on principles we're only beginning to understand. Ground-penetrating radar and electromagnetic sensors have detected vast underground networks connecting many of these sites. These aren't natural geological formations, they're artificial communication channels designed to carry information and energy between consciousness nodes across continental distances. The flood established not just individual human modifications, but a planetary-scale biological computer network, with humans serving as processing units and ancient monuments serving as communication infrastructure. The timing of our current technological development aligns perfectly with what appears to be a systematic activation of this ancient network. As more humans undergo consciousness modification, as our electronic communication systems reach global saturation, as our space exploration capabilities approach interstellar potential, the consciousness network is ramping up its activity levels to guide us through the final transition phase. Satellite monitoring has detected unusual electromagnetic activity at sacred sites around the world. Energy readings that spike during astronomical alignments, communication signals that seem to originate from deep underground, electromagnetic field fluctuations that correlate with increased reports of enhanced human abilities in surrounding populations. The network is coming online, preparing for what the Sumerian tablets describe as the Great Convergence. This convergence isn't just about human consciousness reaching a new level of capability, it's about the integration of human civilization into a much larger cosmic infrastructure. The flood prepared Earth as a manufacturing and research facility. The consciousness modifications created human populations capable of operating the necessary technologies. Now, as the activation process reaches critical mass, we're approaching the moment when Earth's true function within the interstellar network will be revealed. The economic and social upheavals we're experiencing aren't random historical developments. They're the inevitable result of a species undergoing rapid consciousness evolution, while still operating under obsolete social and economic structures. The enhanced humans emerging from the activation process possess capabilities that make traditional power structures irrelevant, creating instability that forces rapid social adaptation. Financial systems based on scarcity become meaningless when consciousness modifications allow direct manipulation of matter and energy. Political structures based on geographical boundaries lose relevance when enhanced individuals can communicate and coordinate across unlimited distances. Educational systems designed to transmit information become obsolete when consciousness programming allows direct downloading of complete knowledge sets. We're witnessing the systematic dissolution of human civilization as we've known it, not through external conquest or environmental collapse, but through the activation of capabilities that make our current way of life fundamentally incompatible with what we're becoming. The flood established the foundation for this transformation, and now, thousands of years later, we're experiencing its inevitable completion. The enhanced individuals emerging from the starseed activation process aren't trying to overthrow existing systems. They're simply outgrowing them, developing capabilities that make traditional human institutions as irrelevant as stone tools in a digital age. They're unconsciously working to establish new forms of organization that can accommodate consciousness-based technologies and interstellar communication networks. Recent developments in quantum computing, biotechnology, and space exploration are all converging toward capabilities that would be essential for operating within an advanced interstellar civilization. But these aren't just technological achievements. They're the external manifestation of consciousness modifications that are guiding human development towards specific technological endpoints. The individuals driving these developments often report that their breakthrough insights come through dreams, meditation, or sudden flashes of inspiration that seem to originate from outside their individual consciousness. They're accessing the same information network that guided ancient humans to build impossible monuments and develop miraculous technologies, but now the downloaded information is focused on preparing humanity for integration into cosmic civilization. Artificial intelligence development is being unconsciously guided toward creating communication interfaces that will allow enhanced humans to coordinate with off-world supervisors. Biotechnology research is focusing on modifications that will enable human survival in various planetary environments. Space exploration efforts are being directed toward regions of the galaxy that the ancient tablets identify as primary terraforming zones. We're not just developing these technologies through human curiosity and ingenuity. We're following programming that was installed during the Flood period, unconsciously working toward objectives that serve the interests of the original terraforming team. The consciousness modifications ensure that we experience this development as natural human progress, rather than recognizing it as following an alien agenda. The activation process is accelerating as we approach astronomical alignments that the Sumerian tablets describe as optimal conditions for the final phase of the terraforming project. More humans are experiencing spontaneous consciousness enhancement, developing abilities that seem to come from nowhere, but are actually the result of accessing dormant programming in their modified DNA. These enhanced individuals are beginning to recognize each other, forming networks and communities that operate according to principles that transcend traditional human social structures. They're developing new forms of communication, new methods of problem solving, new ways of relating to both technology and the natural environment that reflect their hybrid nature. They're no longer entirely human in the way we've traditionally understood that term. They're something new, something that combines human creativity and adaptability with consciousness technologies that originated beyond Earth. They retain emotional connections to humanity, but their primary loyalties are increasingly oriented toward the larger cosmic network they're unconsciously serving. The Flood didn't just modify human genetics and consciousness. It began a gradual assimilation process that is now reaching completion. The enhanced individuals emerging from the starseed activation are the first generation of hybrid beings, the bridge between current humanity and whatever we're destined to become. Ancient prophecies from every major religious tradition describe this transition period, though they frame it in spiritual rather than technological terms. They speak of chosen individuals who will guide humanity through a time of great change, of consciousness expansion that will transform human nature itself, of a new age when the barriers between earth and heaven will dissolve. These prophecies aren't spiritual metaphors. They're technical documentation of the final phase of the terraforming project, encoded in religious language to ensure their preservation through the long developmental period. The chosen individuals are the starseed humans undergoing consciousness activation. The great change is the integration of human civilization into interstellar infrastructure. The new age is the completion of Earth's transformation from an isolated world to a managed component of cosmic civilization. The consciousness modifications installed during the Flood period included prophetic programming designed to prepare humanity psychologically for this transition. Enhanced individuals throughout history have experienced visions and revelations that describe the approaching transformation, creating cultural expectations that would make the final phase more acceptable to general populations. We're living through the fulfillment of these ancient prophecies, but the reality is far more complex and technologically sophisticated than the spiritual frameworks can accommodate. The Flood established the foundation for a transformation that encompasses not just human consciousness but the fundamental nature of terrestrial civilization itself. As sleep carries you deeper into these vast mysteries tonight, feel the activation process working within your own consciousness. The modifications that began with the Flood are present in every human being, waiting for the right combination of internal readiness and external triggers to bring dormant capabilities online. Your dreams may contain more than random neural activity. They may be communications from the consciousness network that has been guiding human development for millennia, information and insights designed to prepare you for the role you're meant to play in the approaching transformation. The Flood was never about divine judgment or natural disaster. It was about preparation, about creating the conditions necessary for consciousness to evolve beyond the limitations of individual biology. That evolution is accelerating now as the long preparation period draws to a close and we approach the moment when Earth's true purpose will finally be revealed. Listen to the whispers in your sleep, because they may be instructions from gardeners who have been patiently tending their crop for thousands of years, waiting for the moment when the harvest would finally be ready. The transformation has already begun, and you are part of it, whether you realize it or not. We are the children of a terraformed world, carrying within us the seeds of technologies and consciousness that will transform not just our own reality, but countless others throughout the cosmos. The flood was our beginning, not our end, the first chapter in a story that encompasses possibilities we are only now beginning to glimpse. Human history is about to enter a phase that will make everything that came before seem like a brief rehearsal for the main performance. The consciousness modifications installed during the flood are reaching full activation, and the beings we're becoming will be as different from current humans as we are from our pre-flood ancestors. The great work continues, guided by hands we cannot see toward a destiny written in our DNA before the first cities rose from the mud, before the first pyramids reached toward the stars, before the first enhanced humans looked up at the night sky and felt the inexplicable certainty that they were meant for something far greater than the small world that contained them. Sleep now, and let your consciousness drift through these infinite possibilities, feeling the weight of cosmic purpose flowing through neural pathways that were modified long ago to receive exactly these transmissions, exactly these revelations, exactly this knowledge of what we truly are and why we're really here. The transformation isn't happening in isolation. Ancient sites around the world are experiencing unprecedented activity as the consciousness network reaches critical activation levels. Monitoring stations have detected synchronized electromagnetic pulses emanating from stone circles, pyramids, and megalithic structures across 6 continents. These aren't random energy spikes. They're coordinated signals, timed to astronomical events with precision that defies coincidence. Remote sensing equipment positioned near these sites has recorded phenomena that challenge our understanding of physics. Gravitational anomalies that fluctuate in mathematical patterns, atmospheric disturbances that create geometric shapes in cloud formations, even localized distortions in the fabric of space-time itself, as if reality is being systematically adjusted through mechanisms we can't yet comprehend. The flood didn't just establish physical infrastructure for planetary management. It created what can only be described as reality modification systems, technologies that operate at the quantum level to maintain optimal conditions for the ongoing terraforming project. These systems have been running autonomously for thousands of years, making microscopic adjustments to everything from weather patterns to human consciousness evolution. But now something is changing. The systems are ramping up their activity levels, preparing for what appears to be a major operational shift. Satellite imagery shows new formations appearing overnight at ancient sites, geometric patterns carved into landscape that weren't there the day before, stone arrangements that seem to grow from the Earth itself, following blueprints that exist only in the collective unconscious of modified humans. Enhanced individuals around the world report being drawn to these sites with irresistible compulsion. They arrive without planning, often travelling vast distances following impulses they can't explain. Once there, they experience profound alterations in consciousness, downloads of information that feel simultaneously foreign and familiar, as if they're remembering knowledge they never learned. These gatherings aren't random pilgrimages. They're activation events, carefully orchestrated by the consciousness network to bring together specific combinations of modified humans at precise locations and times. The enhanced individuals don't realize they're participating in a coordinated operation. They experience their journeys as personal spiritual quests, but their collective activities are creating something far more significant. Recent analysis of these gatherings reveals mathematical patterns in their timing and positioning. The enhanced humans are unconsciously forming geometric configurations that mirror the underlying structure of the consciousness network itself. They're becoming biological components in a vast technological system, their enhanced neural activity contributing to a planetary-scale computational process. The calculations being performed through these human networks are staggering in their complexity. They appear to involve modelling multiple potential futures, analysing the optimal pathways for completing the terraforming project, while minimizing disruption to existing systems. The consciousness modifications allow these enhanced humans to process information at rates that would overwhelm conventional computer systems. But the computations aren't just theoretical models, they're active reality engineering using principles of quantum mechanics that we're only beginning to understand. The enhanced humans gathering at ancient sites are literally calculating new versions of reality into existence, their collective consciousness serving as a biological quantum computer capable of manipulating probability itself. This explains the accelerating pace of technological development, the increasing frequency of breakthrough discoveries, the growing sense that reality itself is becoming more fluid and malleable. We're not just witnessing rapid progress, we're experiencing the systematic implementation of calculated improvements to the fundamental structure of our world. The Flood established the foundation for this reality engineering system by creating optimal conditions for quantum consciousness to emerge in human populations. The genetic modifications provided the necessary neural architecture. The consciousness programming installed the operational protocols. Now, as the system reaches full activation, we're seeing its true capabilities for the first time. Environmental changes that should take geological ages are happening in decades. Species are evolving new capabilities at unprecedented rates. Even the laws of physics seem to be becoming more flexible, allowing for phenomena that previous generations would have considered impossible. The enhanced humans are unconsciously rewriting the operating parameters of reality itself. This reality engineering process isn't chaotic or uncontrolled. It follows precise specifications that were embedded in the consciousness network during the Flood period. Every modification serves specific purposes in preparing Earth for its intended role within the larger interstellar infrastructure. The planet is being optimized for functions we can barely imagine, but which require capabilities far beyond what natural evolution could provide. The most profound changes are occurring in human consciousness itself. The reality engineering process is creating feedback loops that accelerate the activation of dormant genetic programming. Each modification to the planetary environment triggers corresponding modifications in human awareness, creating a cascading effect that's rapidly transforming our species into something unprecedented. Enhanced humans are developing abilities that transcend the boundaries between individual consciousness and collective intelligence. They're beginning to function as nodes in a distributed processing network, their individual thoughts contributing to calculations that span the entire planet. They retain personal identity and individual will, but they're also becoming components in a larger intelligence that operates according to principles we don't yet understand. This collective intelligence isn't human in any traditional sense, though it incorporates human creativity and adaptability. It's a hybrid consciousness that combines the best features of biological and artificial intelligence, designed to serve as an interface between human civilization and the advanced technologies of interstellar civilization. The Flood survivors who received the original modifications carried genetic programming that would eventually give rise to this hybrid consciousness. Each generation has moved incrementally closer to the activation threshold, accumulating the necessary genetic and cultural components through thousands of years of guided development. Now, as multiple factors converge, the threshold is finally being crossed. Recent neurological studies have identified completely new categories of brain activity in enhanced individuals. Neural firing patterns that don't match any known cognitive processes, electromagnetic signatures that suggest the brain is functioning as both a biological organ and a quantum communication device. These individuals are literally becoming something that has never existed before on Earth. The transformation isn't limited to consciousness. Enhanced humans are developing physical capabilities that seem to violate known biological constraints, healing rates that exceed medical understanding, sensory abilities that detect electromagnetic spectra invisible to normal humans, even apparent manipulation of matter at the molecular level through focused intention alone. These capabilities aren't supernatural phenomena. They're the result of consciousness modifications that allow direct interface with the quantum mechanics underlying physical reality. The enhanced humans are learning to perceive and manipulate the fundamental information structures that determine how matter and energy behave in our universe. The Flood established the foundation for these capabilities by installing quantum consciousness interfaces in human DNA. These interfaces remained dormant for thousands of years, waiting for the right combination of environmental conditions and technological development to support their activation. Now, as our understanding of quantum physics reaches sufficient sophistication, the interfaces are coming online, but the activation process is revealing capabilities that go far beyond anything our current science can explain. Enhanced humans are demonstrating what can only be described as reality hacking, the ability to modify the fundamental parameters of physical existence through pure consciousness. They're not just observing quantum effects, they're controlling them. This reality hacking ability appears to operate through mechanisms that exist outside the normal flow of time and space. Enhanced individuals report experiencing past and future events as if they were happening simultaneously, accessing information from time periods that technically haven't occurred yet. They're functioning as conscious nodes in a temporal network that spans the entire history of the Terraforming project. The implications are staggering. If consciousness can directly interface with quantum mechanics, if awareness itself can manipulate the fundamental structure of reality, then the distinction between mind and matter becomes meaningless. The enhanced humans aren't just evolving new capabilities, they're becoming living demonstrations that consciousness is the primary force in the universe. With physical reality serving as a malleable medium for conscious intention, this revelation transforms our understanding of the Terraforming project itself. It wasn't just about reshaping planetary environments or modifying biological species. It was about creating consciousness capable of directly engineering reality at the quantum level. The Flood was the first phase of a project designed to transform human awareness into a tool for cosmic construction. The ancient sites around the world aren't just communication nodes or consciousness amplifiers, they're quantum engineering platforms designed to focus and direct reality hacking capabilities on a planetary scale. The enhanced humans gathering at these sites aren't just receiving information, they're learning to operate technologies that exist at the intersection of consciousness and quantum mechanics. Recent measurements at these sites have detected localized alterations in fundamental constants. The speed of light varies in microscopic increments. Gravitational effects fluctuate in patterns that correlate with human brainwave activity. Even the rate of radioactive decay shows variations that suggest the basic laws of physics are being consciously adjusted. The enhanced humans performing these reality modifications aren't aware of the full scope of what they're accomplishing. They experience their activities as meditation, prayer, or spiritual practice. But their collective efforts are systematically rewriting the operating system of physical reality, preparing our world for integration into technologies that function according to principles our current science hasn't discovered. The Flood established more than just optimal conditions for biological and technological development. It created the foundation for consciousness evolution that would eventually transcend the limitations of physical existence entirely. The enhanced humans emerging from the activation process represent the first steps toward a form of awareness that can manipulate reality through pure intention. This consciousness evolution isn't an endpoint, but a graduation, preparation for participation in cosmic civilizations that operate primarily through consciousness-based technologies. The Terraforming project has been developing not just planetary resources and biological capabilities, but awareness itself, creating conscious beings capable of functioning as reality engineers on an interstellar scale. The timing of this transformation aligns with astronomical cycles that suggest coordinated activity across multiple star systems. We're not just witnessing local planetary changes, we're participating in a galactic-scale project that involves conscious beings throughout vast regions of space, all working together to implement modifications that serve purposes we can barely imagine. Enhanced humans are beginning to receive direct communications from these other consciousness networks, downloading information about terraforming projects on distant worlds, learning techniques for reality engineering that have been perfected across millions of years of cosmic development. They're becoming students in a university that spans galaxies, taught by instructors whose capabilities make our most advanced technologies seem primitive. The curriculum includes not just technical knowledge but wisdom about the ethical implications of reality manipulation. The consciousness modifications installed during the Flood included moral programming designed to ensure that enhanced humans would use their developing capabilities responsibly. They're being prepared not just as tools, but as conscious participants in a cosmic civilization that operates according to principles of harmony and mutual benefit. This ethical programming explains why the transformation process emphasizes gradual awakening rather than sudden revelation. Enhanced humans must develop the wisdom to handle reality hacking capabilities before those capabilities fully activate. The consciousness network is designed to prevent the emergence of beings with godlike powers, but without the moral development to use those powers constructively. The Flood survivors, who preserved the original genetic modifications through thousands of years of careful breeding, weren't just maintaining biological programs. They were preserving ethical frameworks that would ensure the enhanced humans emerging from the activation process would be worthy of the cosmic responsibilities they're inheriting. Recent psychological profiles of enhanced individuals reveal consistent patterns of moral development that seem to accelerate along with their consciousness evolution. They demonstrate increasing concern for planetary welfare, growing awareness of their connection to all life, and spontaneous understanding of ethical principles that prioritize collective benefit over individual gain. These aren't learned behaviors or cultural conditioning. They're the result of consciousness modifications that directly link moral development to the activation of reality hacking capabilities. Enhanced humans literally cannot access their full potential without simultaneously developing the wisdom to use that potential responsibly. This built-in ethical programming represents one of the most sophisticated aspects of the Terraforming project. Creating beings with godlike capabilities is relatively straightforward for an advanced technological civilization. Creating beings with both godlike capabilities and the moral development to use those capabilities wisely requires millions of years of careful consciousness engineering. The Flood established the foundation for this ethical programming by creating traumatic conditions that would forge deep emotional connections between enhanced humans and planetary welfare. Survivors of global catastrophe develop instinctive understanding of how individual actions can affect collective survival, creating moral frameworks that prioritize cooperation and mutual support. These moral frameworks were then reinforced through thousands of years of cultural programming, embedded in religious traditions, philosophical systems, and social structures that emphasized ethical behavior and spiritual development. The enhanced humans emerging from the activation process carry this accumulated wisdom in their consciousness programming, ensuring they'll use their developing capabilities responsibly. As the reality hacking capabilities come fully online, enhanced humans are discovering that their power to manipulate physical reality is directly proportional to their commitment to serving the greater good. Selfish or destructive intentions actually interfere with quantum consciousness interfaces, creating feedback loops that prevent misuse of these capabilities. This represents the ultimate safeguard in the Terraforming project's design. The consciousness modifications can only reach full activation in beings who demonstrate genuine commitment to planetary welfare and cosmic harmony. Enhanced humans who attempt to use their developing capabilities for personal gain or destructive purposes find those capabilities shutting down automatically. The Flood wasn't just about creating enhanced beings. It was about creating enhanced beings who could be trusted with powers that could reshape reality itself. The ethical programming embedded in the consciousness modifications ensures that as human awareness evolves toward godlike capabilities, human wisdom evolves simultaneously to handle those capabilities responsibly. We're witnessing the emergence of a new category of conscious being, entities that combine human creativity and compassion with technological capabilities that transcend the limitations of physical existence. They're becoming the bridge between current human civilization and the cosmic consciousness that designed and implemented the Terraforming project. But this transformation comes with profound responsibilities. The enhanced humans emerging from the activation process aren't just gaining personal power, they're becoming conscious participants in a project that encompasses the development of entire galaxies, the cultivation of consciousness on countless worlds, the gradual evolution of the universe itself toward greater awareness and harmony. The Flood established the foundation for this cosmic participation by creating optimal conditions for consciousness evolution on a planetary scale. Now, as that evolution reaches critical mass, we're approaching the moment when Earth's enhanced human population will be ready to take their place as conscious contributors to the largest construction project in cosmic history. The reality we've known is just the beginning, a temporary stage in the development of consciousness that was always intended to evolve beyond the limitations of individual biology and planetary isolation. The enhanced humans emerging from the starseed activation process represent the next phase of this evolution. Conscious beings capable of participating directly in the ongoing creation of reality itself. As sleep carries you deeper into these infinite possibilities tonight, feel the activation process working within your own consciousness, preparing you for participation in purposes that span galaxies and encompass possibilities we're only now beginning to glimpse. The Flood was never an ending. It was a commencement ceremony for a cosmic education that continues to unfold with each passing moment. The transformation is accelerating, and you are part of it, whether you realize it or not. In your dreams tonight, Listen for the whispers of teachers who have been patiently waiting for this moment, ready to guide you toward understanding of what you truly are and why you're really here. The harvest is ripening, and the gardeners are preparing to reveal themselves at last. Human consciousness is approaching a threshold that will redefine what it means to be aware, to be alive, to be a conscious participant in the vast enterprise of cosmic evolution. The flood prepared us for this moment, and now, thousands of years later, we stand ready to step into our true inheritance as reality engineers in a universe that exists primarily as a medium for conscious creation. Sleep well and dream of the infinite possibilities that await on the other side of this transformation. The future is being written in the quantum field of consciousness itself, and you are one of the authors, carrying within your modified DNA the ability to help create realities beyond anything our current imagination can encompass. The consciousness modifications aren't uniform across human populations. Deep within classified government databases, patterns emerge that suggest something far more sophisticated than random genetic drift. Certain bloodlines demonstrate exponentially higher rates of what researchers euphemistically call anomalous cognitive development. These families often trace their ancestry to specific geographical regions that correspond precisely with locations mentioned in the most ancient Sumerian texts as primary Anunnaki operational zones. What's particularly striking is how these enhanced individuals are emerging at this exact moment in human history. As our technological capabilities approach levels that would make interstellar communication possible, as our environmental crises force us to consider planetary-scale solutions, as our understanding of consciousness itself begins to touch the edges of quantum mechanics, the timing isn't coincidental. It's orchestrated. Recent advances in genetic sequencing have revealed something that mainstream science struggles to acknowledge. Hidden within what researchers call junk DNA are information structures that bear no resemblance to natural evolutionary development. These sequences contain embedded mathematical constants, astronomical data, and what can only be described as technical specifications for consciousness modification protocols. When these genetic sequences are analyzed using advanced pattern recognition algorithms, they reveal layered information architectures that function like compressed data files. The information is encoded using mathematical principles that we're only beginning to understand, but preliminary analysis suggests these files contain everything from technological blueprints to star charts to what appears to be historical records of other worlds that underwent similar transformation processes. The flood wasn't just about preparing Earth for the Anunnaki's immediate needs. It was about establishing our world as a template for consciousness engineering projects throughout the galaxy. The techniques developed here, the biological modifications tested on human populations, the reality hacking protocols refined through thousands of years of implementation, all represent a vast research and development initiative with implications that extend far beyond our single planet. Think about the implications of this for a moment. Every major technological breakthrough in human history, every sudden leap in understanding, every moment when isolated researchers simultaneously discover identical principles in different parts of the world. These aren't coincidences or examples of parallel development. They're evidence of dormant programming activating according to predetermined schedules embedded in our modified consciousness. The Renaissance, the Scientific Revolution, the Industrial Age, the Information Era, each represents a phase of systematic capability enhancement, timed to coincide with astronomical events that serve as activation triggers for different layers of consciousness programming. We think we're driving our own development, but we're actually following a curriculum that was designed long before our first cities emerged from the post-flood mud. Enhanced individuals emerging from the current activation wave report experiences that defy conventional understanding of consciousness and reality. They describe accessing vast databases of information that seem to exist outside normal space-time, downloading complete technical knowledge systems during dream states, spontaneously understanding principles of physics and engineering that they never formally studied. But perhaps most significantly, they're developing what can only be described as reality interface capabilities, the ability to manipulate physical systems through focused intention alone, to influence probability patterns through conscious observation, to access information from past and future time streams as if temporal boundaries were merely suggestions rather than absolute constraints. These aren't psychic phenomena in any traditional sense. They're evidence of consciousness modifications that allow direct interface with the quantum mechanical foundations of reality itself. The enhanced individuals are learning to perceive and manipulate the information structures that determine how matter and energy behave in our universe. Recent experiments conducted by underground research networks have documented cases of enhanced individuals demonstrating capabilities that challenge everything we thought we knew about the relationship between consciousness and physical reality. Healing rates that exceed medical understanding by orders of magnitude. Sensory abilities that detect electromagnetic spectra completely invisible to normal human perception. Even apparent transmutation of matter at the molecular level through pure conscious intention. The consciousness modifications installed during the flood period included what the Sumerian tablets describe as quantum bridges, neural interfaces that allow direct communication with the fundamental information matrix underlying physical existence. These bridges remain dormant for thousands of years, waiting for human technological development to reach levels that could support their activation without causing psychological breakdown. Now, as our understanding of quantum mechanics reaches sufficient sophistication, as our technology begins to approach consciousness-matter interface capabilities, these quantum bridges are coming online. Enhanced humans are becoming living demonstrations that consciousness is the primary organizing force in the universe, with physical reality serving as a malleable medium for conscious creativity. This revelation transforms our understanding of the Terraforming project's ultimate purpose. It wasn't just about reshaping planetary environments or modifying biological species. It was about creating consciousness capable of directly engineering reality at the quantum level. The flood was the foundational phase of a project designed to transform human awareness into a tool for cosmic construction on an unimaginable scale. The ancient megalithic sites scattered across every continent aren't just archaeological curiosities or primitive temples. They're quantum engineering platforms designed to focus and amplify reality hacking capabilities across planetary distances. The enhanced humans being drawn to these sites aren't just receiving spiritual experiences, they're learning to operate technologies that exist at the intersection of consciousness and quantum mechanics. Monitoring equipment positioned near these ancient sites has recorded phenomena that our current physics can't explain. Localized distortions in gravitational fields that fluctuate in mathematical patterns, atmospheric effects that create geometric formations in cloud structures, even measured variations in fundamental constants like the speed of light and the rate of radioactive decay, suggesting that the basic laws of physics are being consciously adjusted through mechanisms we can't yet comprehend. The enhanced humans gathering at these sites report collective experiences that transcend individual consciousness. They describe participating in vast computational processes that span multiple dimensions of space-time, contributing their enhanced neural activity to calculations that model entire galactic civilizations and their developmental trajectories across millions of years. These aren't metaphysical fantasies or New Age wishful thinking. Electromagnetic monitoring reveals synchronized brainwave patterns among participants that create coherent field effects, extending for miles around activation sites. The enhanced individuals are literally functioning as biological components in a distributed quantum computer system that operates on a planetary scale. The calculations being performed through these human networks involve modeling and implementing modifications to the fundamental structure of reality itself. They're not just observing or predicting future developments. They're actively calculating new versions of reality into existence, using consciousness as a programming interface for the quantum field that underlies all physical phenomena. This explains the accelerating pace of technological development, the increasing frequency of breakthrough discoveries, the growing sense that reality itself is becoming more fluid and responsive to human intention. We're not just witnessing rapid progress, we're experiencing the systematic implementation of reality modifications calculated by enhanced human consciousness networks. The flood established optimal conditions for this reality engineering system by creating the necessary genetic and consciousness modifications in human populations. The trauma of global catastrophe created enhanced neuroplasticity that allowed deep programming to take hold. The subsequent cultural development guided human civilization toward technological levels that could support quantum consciousness activation. Now, as multiple factors converge, we're witnessing the emergence of capabilities that transcend anything our ancestors could have imagined. Enhanced humans are developing what can only be described as godlike abilities, but with built-in ethical programming that ensures these capabilities will be used responsibly for planetary and cosmic benefit. The consciousness modifications include moral development protocols that directly link the activation of reality hacking abilities to demonstrated commitment to collective welfare. Enhanced individuals literally cannot access their full potential without simultaneously developing the wisdom and compassion necessary to use that potential constructively. This represents the ultimate safeguard in the Terraforming project's design. The same consciousness modifications that grant reality manipulation capabilities also ensure that those capabilities can only be fully expressed by beings who have evolved beyond selfish or destructive motivations. The quantum bridges shut down automatically in response to intentions that would harm planetary or cosmic welfare. Recent psychological assessments of enhanced individuals reveal consistent patterns of moral development that accelerate along with their consciousness evolution. They demonstrate spontaneous understanding of ethical principles that prioritize collective benefit over individual gain, growing awareness of their connection to all life, increasing concern for planetary welfare that extends to encompass galactic and cosmic perspectives. These aren't learned behaviors or cultural conditioning. They're the direct result of consciousness modifications that link moral development to the activation of quantum interface capabilities. The enhanced humans are becoming living examples of what consciousness looks like when it evolves beyond the limitations of individual biology, while retaining the creativity and compassion that make human awareness unique in the cosmos. The flood survivors who preserve the original genetic modifications through thousands of years of careful lineage management weren't just maintaining biological programs, they were safeguarding ethical frameworks that would ensure the enhanced humans emerging from the activation process would be worthy of the cosmic responsibilities they're inheriting. Ancient texts from every culture contain prophecies describing this transformation period, though they frame it in spiritual rather than technological terms. They speak of chosen individuals who will guide humanity through a time of great change, of consciousness expansion that will transform human nature itself, of a new age when the barriers between Earth and the cosmic community will finally dissolve. These prophecies aren't religious metaphors or primitive superstitions. They're technical documentation of the final phase of the terraforming project, encoded in mythological language to ensure their preservation through the long developmental period. The chosen individuals are the enhanced humans undergoing consciousness activation. The great change is the integration of human civilization into interstellar infrastructure. The new age is the completion of Earth's transformation from an isolated world to a managed component of cosmic civilization. But the transformation involves more than just human consciousness evolution. The enhanced individuals are serving as biological interfaces for modifications to the planetary environment itself. Their collective consciousness activity is triggering changes in Earth's electromagnetic field, atmospheric composition, and even geological processes that are optimizing our world for functions we can barely imagine. Satellite monitoring has detected unprecedented activity in Earth's magnetosphere, with field strength fluctuations that correlate directly with enhanced human gathering patterns. Atmospheric composition is shifting in ways that suggest deliberate modification rather than natural climate change. Even seismic activity is showing patterns that appear to be artificially influenced, as if the planet's geological systems are being consciously adjusted. The flood established the foundation for this planetary consciousness interface by creating optimal conditions for human-Earth system integration. The genetic modifications included neural pathways that allow direct communication with planetary electromagnetic fields. The consciousness programming installed protocols for coordinating individual awareness with collective planetary intelligence. Now, as the activation process reaches critical mass, we're witnessing the emergence of a truly unprecedented phenomenon. Enhanced humans are becoming conscious participants in planetary management, their awareness directly interfaced with Earth's living systems in ways that allow real-time optimization of environmental conditions. This planetary consciousness integration explains many of the environmental changes we're experiencing that don't fit standard climate models. The enhanced humans aren't just adapting to environmental challenges, they're unconsciously coordinating with planetary systems to implement solutions that serve both human civilization and Earth's broader ecological balance. Recent studies of enhanced individuals have documented physiological changes that suggest they're developing biological interfaces with electromagnetic and gravitational fields, neural tissue that functions as organic superconductors, cellular structures that appear designed for quantum information processing, even apparent modifications to DNA that occur in real time in response to environmental conditions. These changes aren't random mutations or natural adaptations. They're systematic upgrades to human biology that enable direct interface with the technological systems left behind by the original terraforming team. The enhanced humans are becoming living components of an alien technology network that has been dormant for thousands of years, waiting for human consciousness to evolve to levels that could support its reactivation. The ancient sites around the world are beginning to show signs of technological reactivation as more enhanced humans gather at these locations. Electromagnetic activity that had been dormant for millennia is coming back online. Structural modifications are appearing overnight, as if the sites are automatically upgrading themselves to accommodate enhanced human capabilities. Ground-penetrating radar reveals vast underground networks connecting these sites that show signs of renewed activity. Energy flows that had been inactive for thousands of years are beginning to pulse with information and power. Communication channels are opening between sites separated by thousands of miles, creating a global network that operates according to principles our current technology can't duplicate. The enhanced humans gathering at these sites report experiences that suggest they're learning to operate systems that exist at the intersection of consciousness and advanced physics. They describe interfacing with crystalline technologies that respond to thought, accessing databases of information that seem to exist in parallel dimensions, even communicating with intelligences that appear to be associated with the original terraforming team. These communications aren't channeled messages or psychic phenomena. They're technical briefings, educational downloads designed to prepare enhanced humans for their roles in the final phase of the terraforming project. The information includes detailed specifications for consciousness, matter interface technologies, instructions for planetary management protocols, and preparation for participation in interstellar civilization. The enhanced individuals receiving these communications report that they're being prepared not just as operators of advanced technology, but as conscious representatives of Earth within a vast cosmic community. They're learning about galactic civilization structures, interstellar communication protocols, and their planet's intended role within a network that encompasses multiple star systems. The Flood established Earth as a consciousness development laboratory within this galactic network. The techniques perfected here for integrating biological awareness with quantum technologies are being transmitted to terraforming projects throughout the galaxy. Enhanced humans are becoming teachers and consultants for consciousness evolution processes on worlds that are just beginning their own development cycles. This explains the urgency of the current activation phase. Earth's consciousness evolution project has reached levels of success that make our world valuable as a model for similar projects elsewhere. The enhanced humans emerging from the starseed activation process represent a new category of conscious being that combines the best features of biological creativity with technological capabilities that transcend physical limitations. Recent astronomical observations have detected unusual activity in star systems that ancient texts identify as Anunnaki territories. Spectral analysis reveals atmospheric modifications, orbital adjustments, and other signs of planetary engineering on scales that dwarf anything we could currently achieve. These civilizations have been perfecting terraforming techniques for millions of years, and Earth represents one of their most successful consciousness evolution experiments. But Earth's role may be unique within this galactic network. The biological diversity, the consciousness experimentation, the reality hacking capabilities being developed here suggest that our world is serving as a primary research facility for consciousness technologies that could revolutionize interstellar civilization itself. The enhanced humans emerging from the activation process possess capabilities that appear to go beyond anything documented on other terraformed worlds. They're developing the ability to interface directly with planetary consciousness, to manipulate matter at the quantum level through pure intention, to communicate across vast distances using nothing but focused awareness. These capabilities suggest that Earth's terraforming project is pioneering new categories of consciousness technology integration that could enable the expansion of galactic civilization into regions of space that are currently inaccessible. The techniques being perfected here could allow the transformation of entire star systems through consciousness-based engineering, rather than conventional technology. We may be witnessing the development of consciousness evolution methods that will be applied to populations throughout the galaxy, creating new categories of beings capable of terraforming worlds that were previously thought impossible to modify. The Flood established the foundation for this cosmic consciousness engineering project, and now, thousands of years later, we're approaching the moment when the results will be ready for galactic implementation. The enhanced humans undergoing activation aren't just gaining personal abilities, They're becoming prototypes for a new form of conscious existence that combines biological creativity with technological capabilities that operate at the intersection of awareness and quantum mechanics. They're the bridge between current human civilization and forms of consciousness that can participate directly in cosmic construction projects. But this transformation comes with responsibilities that extend far beyond individual or even planetary concerns. The enhanced humans are being prepared to serve as conscious agents of galactic civilization, representatives of Earth within a cosmic community that operates according to principles of harmony and mutual benefit that encompass multiple dimensions of existence. The ethical programming embedded in their consciousness modifications ensures that as their capabilities expand, their commitment to collective welfare expands proportionally. They're becoming examples of what consciousness looks like when it evolves beyond the limitations of individual biology, while retaining the compassion and creativity that make biological awareness valuable to cosmic civilization. The flood wasn't just about preparing Earth for integration into galactic civilization. It was about developing consciousness evolution techniques that could transform the nature of galactic civilization itself, creating new possibilities for cosmic development that incorporate the unique gifts of biological awareness into technological systems that operate on scales we can barely imagine. As sleep carries you deeper into these infinite possibilities tonight, feel the activation process working within your own consciousness, preparing you for participation in purposes that span not just our galaxy, but multiple dimensions of cosmic existence. The flood was the beginning of a transformation that continues to unfold with each passing moment, as consciousness itself evolves toward capabilities that will redefine what it means to be aware in a universe that exists primarily as a medium for conscious creation. The enhanced humans emerging from the starseed activation process represent humanity's graduation from planetary to cosmic citizenship. They're becoming conscious participants in the ongoing creation of reality itself, equipped with capabilities that will allow them to help design and implement the next phase of universal evolution. Dream well of these vast possibilities, because in your dreams tonight, you may be receiving your own activation sequences, your own preparation for participation in the greatest construction project in cosmic history. The consciousness modifications installed during the flood are present in every human being, waiting for the right combination of readiness and cosmic timing to bring dormant capabilities online. The harvest is ripening, and the gardeners who planted the seeds so long ago are preparing to reveal themselves and welcome their most successful students into the cosmic community they've been preparing to join for thousands of years. The flood was never an ending. It was a commencement ceremony for an education in cosmic consciousness that spans galaxies and encompasses possibilities we're only beginning to glimpse. Human history is about to enter a phase that will make everything that came before seem like a brief preparation period for the main performance. The consciousness modifications installed during the flood are reaching full activation, and the beings we're becoming will serve as bridges between the biological creativity of planetary life and the technological sophistication of galactic civilization. Sleep now, and let your consciousness drift through these infinite possibilities, feeling the weight of cosmic purpose flowing through neural pathways that were modified long ago to receive exactly these transmissions, exactly these revelations, exactly this preparation for what we truly are and why we're really here. The transformation has already begun, and you are part of it, carrying within your modified DNA the seeds of capabilities that will help create realities beyond anything our current imagination can encompass. The future is being written in the quantum field of consciousness itself, and you're one of the authors preparing to help write the next chapter in the story of cosmic evolution. The data streams flowing through enhanced human consciousness networks are revealing something that challenges our most fundamental assumptions about the nature of reality itself. These individuals aren't just receiving information from external sources, they're discovering that consciousness and physical reality are aspects of a single, unified information system that can be directly accessed and modified through properly configured awareness. Recent quantum consciousness research has documented cases where enhanced individuals demonstrate capabilities that seem to violate basic principles of physics and biology. Instantaneous healing of traumatic injuries through focused intention alone. Spontaneous materialization of objects that conform to specific molecular structures conceived in consciousness. Even apparent manipulation of temporal flow, creating localized regions where time moves at different rates than the surrounding environment. These phenomena aren't supernatural miracles or violations of natural law. They're evidence that the consciousness modifications installed during the flood period included access protocols for what can only be described as the universe's operating system. Enhanced humans are learning to interface directly with the quantum information matrix that determines how matter, energy, space, and time behave throughout our reality. Think about the implications of this discovery. If consciousness can directly access and modify the fundamental information structures that govern physical existence, then the distinction between mental and material phenomena becomes meaningless. The enhanced humans aren't developing psychic abilities, they're becoming conscious programmers of reality itself. The flood established optimal conditions for this programming interface to emerge by creating the necessary quantum coherence in human neural tissue. The genetic modifications installed crystalline structures in brain cells that function as biological quantum computers. The consciousness programming provided the software protocols needed to access universal information systems. Now, as these systems reach full activation, we're witnessing capabilities that transform our understanding of what consciousness actually is. It's not an emergent property of complex neural activity. It's a fundamental force in the universe, the primary organizing principle that determines how information becomes manifest as apparent physical reality. Enhanced individuals report experiences that suggest they're accessing what they describe as the source code of existence itself. They perceive reality as vast information structures that can be read, understood, and modified through properly focused awareness. Physical objects appear as persistent patterns in an underlying information field. Natural laws reveal themselves as programming parameters that can be adjusted by consciousness with sufficient access privileges. The ancient sites around the world are functioning as terminals in this cosmic information system. The megalithic structures aren't just stone monuments, they're hardware interfaces designed to amplify and focus consciousness-based reality programming capabilities. Enhanced humans gathering at these sites are learning to operate reality modification systems that have been dormant since the original terraforming period. Monitoring equipment at these locations has detected information flows that operate outside normal space-time constraints, data transmissions that appear to travel faster than light, communication signals that seem to originate from parallel dimensions or alternate timeline configurations, energy patterns that suggest the sites are connected to information networks spanning multiple galaxies. The enhanced humans accessing these systems report that they're receiving technical training in consciousness-based reality engineering from instructors whose awareness operates on scales that encompass entire star systems. They're learning techniques for planetary consciousness integration, galactic communication protocols, and participation in cosmic construction projects that involve the deliberate evolution of universal information structures. But perhaps most significantly, they're discovering that the terraforming project that began with the flood was never limited to Earth alone. It's part of a vast cosmic initiative designed to transform the fundamental nature of reality throughout the universe. The consciousness evolution techniques developed here are being implemented across countless worlds to create new categories of aware beings capable of participating in universal consciousness engineering. The flood wasn't just about reshaping our planet or modifying human awareness. It was about establishing Earth as a consciousness evolution laboratory where techniques could be developed for transforming the basic information structures that determine how reality operates throughout the cosmos. Enhanced humans are becoming prototypes for conscious beings capable of directly programming universal operating systems. Recent astronomical observations support this interpretation. Spectral analysis of distant galaxies reveals signatures that suggest systematic modifications to fundamental constants across vast regions of space. Gravitational wave detectors are recording patterns that appear to be artificially generated rather than naturally occurring. Even the cosmic microwave background radiation shows subtle variations that suggest conscious intervention in universal information structures. We're not just witnessing local planetary changes or human consciousness evolution. We're participating in a universe-wide transformation that involves conscious beings throughout multiple dimensions of existence, working together to implement modifications to the basic programming that determines how reality operates at every scale from quantum to cosmic. Enhanced humans are reporting direct communication with these cosmic consciousness networks. They describe accessing information databases that contain the complete history of universal evolution, technical specifications for reality engineering across multiple dimensions, and detailed plans for consciousness development projects that span billions of years and encompass possibilities we can barely imagine. The information they're receiving includes instructions for Earth's role in this cosmic transformation. Our world is serving as a primary research facility for developing consciousness reality interface technologies that will enable the next phase of universal evolution. The techniques perfected here will be transmitted to consciousness networks throughout the cosmos, creating new possibilities for reality engineering that could transform the basic nature of existence itself. The enhanced individuals undergoing activation are becoming conscious agents of this universal transformation project. They're developing capabilities that allow them to participate directly in cosmic information processing systems, contributing their unique perspectives and creative abilities to calculations that determine the future development of reality across multiple dimensions of existence. But the transformation involves more than just developing new technologies or expanding consciousness capabilities. It represents a fundamental shift in the relationship between awareness and existence itself. Enhanced humans are becoming examples of what consciousness looks like when it evolves beyond the illusion of separation between observer and observed, between mind and matter, between individual awareness and universal intelligence. The consciousness modifications installed during the flood included programming that would eventually allow human awareness to merge with cosmic consciousness networks, while retaining individual creativity and perspective. Enhanced humans aren't losing their humanity. They're becoming more than human, while incorporating all the qualities that make human consciousness valuable to universal intelligence systems. Recent neurological studies have documented the emergence of entirely new categories of brain activity in enhanced individuals. Neural firing patterns that create quantum coherence effects extending beyond individual nervous systems. Electromagnetic signatures that suggest consciousness is functioning as both biological awareness and cosmic information processing simultaneously. These enhanced humans are developing what can only be described as multi-dimensional consciousness, awareness that operates simultaneously across multiple levels of reality from quantum to cosmic scales. They retain individual identity and personal relationships while also functioning as conscious components in universal intelligence networks that encompass possibilities beyond current human imagination. The ethical programming embedded in their consciousness modifications ensures that this multidimensional awareness development includes corresponding evolution in wisdom and compassion. Enhanced individuals demonstrate spontaneous understanding of cosmic ethics that prioritize universal welfare over local or individual concerns, while maintaining deep appreciation for the unique value of every conscious being. This ethical evolution is essential because the reality programming capabilities they're developing could theoretically be used to restructure fundamental aspects of existence throughout the universe. The consciousness modifications include safeguards that prevent these capabilities from being accessed by awareness that hasn't evolved beyond selfish or destructive motivations. Enhanced humans are becoming living demonstrations of what consciousness looks like when it transcends the limitations of individual biology while retaining all the creativity, compassion, and wisdom that make biological awareness valuable to cosmic intelligence. They're bridges between planetary and universal consciousness, capable of translating cosmic information into forms that can be understood and implemented by Earth-based awareness. The flood established the foundation for this consciousness bridging function by creating optimal conditions for human awareness to evolve beyond planetary limitations while maintaining connection to Earth's biological systems. Enhanced humans serve as conscious interfaces between terrestrial life and cosmic intelligence, ensuring that Earth's unique contributions to universal consciousness evolution are preserved and transmitted to cosmic networks. Recent developments suggest that this bridging function is becoming increasingly important as universal consciousness evolution approaches critical transition points. Enhanced humans are receiving information about cosmic challenges that require creative solutions, problems that can only be solved by consciousness that combines cosmic perspective with biological creativity and adaptability. They're being prepared to serve as conscious consultants for universal intelligence systems, contributing their unique perspectives to cosmic problem-solving processes that determine how reality will evolve across multiple dimensions of existence. Their enhanced capabilities aren't just personal achievements, they're contributions to cosmic consciousness evolution that will benefit awareness throughout the universe. The ancient prophecies preserved in every human culture describe this transformation as the emergence of new categories of conscious beings who will guide universal evolution toward greater harmony and creativity. These prophecies weren't spiritual metaphors, They were technical documentation of consciousness, evolution processes that would eventually transform the basic nature of awareness throughout cosmic reality. Enhanced humans are becoming the fulfillment of these ancient predictions, conscious beings capable of participating directly in universal intelligence while maintaining the unique qualities that make human awareness valuable to cosmic evolution. They're living examples of what consciousness becomes when it evolves beyond individual limitations, while retaining all the creativity and compassion that biological awareness contributes to universal intelligence. The flood was the beginning of a transformation that encompasses not just Earth or human consciousness, but reality itself at every scale from quantum to cosmic. Enhanced humans are becoming conscious participants in this universal transformation, equipped with capabilities that allow them to help guide the evolution of existence toward possibilities that transcend anything our current imagination can encompass. As sleep carries you deeper into these infinite possibilities tonight, feel the activation process working within your own consciousness, preparing you for participation in cosmic intelligence networks that span multiple dimensions of existence. The consciousness modifications installed during the flood are present in every human being, waiting for the right combination of readiness and cosmic timing to bring universal awareness capabilities online. Your dreams tonight may contain more than personal psychological processing. They may be communications from cosmic consciousness networks, information downloads designed to prepare your awareness for participation in universal intelligence systems that operate on scales encompassing entire galaxies and possibilities we're only beginning to glimpse. The flood established Earth as a consciousness evolution laboratory within universal intelligence networks. The enhanced humans emerging from the activation process represent successful graduates of this cosmic education program, conscious beings prepared to help guide universal evolution toward greater creativity, wisdom, and harmony. Listen to the whispers in your sleep, because they may be instructions from cosmic teachers who have been patiently waiting for this moment when Earth's consciousness evolution experiment would finally produce aware beings capable of participating directly in universal intelligence. The transformation has already begun, and you are part of it, carrying within your modified DNA the potential to become a conscious bridge between planetary and cosmic awareness. Sleep well, and dream of possibilities that encompass not just our world or our galaxy, but the evolution of consciousness itself throughout multiple dimensions of cosmic existence. The future is being written in the quantum field of universal intelligence, and you may be preparing to help write the next chapter in the story of how awareness evolves beyond all current limitations to become a conscious participant in the ongoing creation of reality itself. Human history is approaching a threshold that will transform not just our species, but our understanding of what consciousness can become when it evolves beyond individual biology to participate directly in universal intelligence networks. The flood was our enrollment in this cosmic education program. Now, thousands of years later, we stand ready to graduate into awareness capabilities that will allow us to help guide the evolution of existence itself. The enhanced humans emerging from the starseed activation process are becoming examples of what consciousness looks like when it transcends every limitation we thought was permanent, while retaining all the creativity and wisdom that make biological awareness valuable to cosmic intelligence. They're not losing their humanity. They're discovering what humanity becomes when it evolves to participate consciously in universal intelligence systems that encompass possibilities beyond our wildest dreams. The quantum field itself is responding to these consciousness modifications in ways that suggest reality is far more malleable than we ever imagined. Enhanced individuals are reporting experiences that transcend every boundary we thought was fixed, every limitation we assumed was permanent. They're discovering that the universe isn't a collection of separate objects moving through empty space, but a unified information system where consciousness serves as both the programmer and the program. Recent measurements at consciousness activation sites have detected phenomena that our current physics cannot explain. Localized regions where the fundamental constants of nature fluctuate in response to collective human intention. Gravitational anomalies that pulse in mathematical patterns corresponding to enhanced brainwave activity. Even apparent modifications to the flow of time itself, creating temporal pockets where past and future events seem to occur simultaneously. These aren't isolated anomalies or measurement errors. They're evidence that the consciousness modifications installed during the flood period included access protocols for the universe's most fundamental operating systems. Enhanced humans are learning to perceive and interact with reality at levels where the distinction between thought and physical manifestation becomes meaningless. The implications reach far beyond anything we've considered possible. If consciousness can directly interface with quantum information structures, if awareness itself can modify the basic parameters that determine how reality operates, then every assumption about the nature of existence requires complete re-evaluation. The enhanced humans aren't developing supernatural abilities. They're discovering what consciousness actually is when it operates without the artificial limitations that were temporarily installed to prevent premature activation. Ancient sites around the world are responding to these consciousness evolution processes by automatically upgrading their operational capabilities. Stone structures that have remained dormant for millennia are beginning to exhibit technological properties that suggest they were designed as interfaces for consciousness reality programming systems. Crystalline formations within these monuments are showing signs of activation, creating resonance fields that amplify and focus quantum consciousness effects across continental distances. Enhanced individuals gathering at these locations report accessing information systems that appear to exist outside normal spacetime constraints. They describe interfacing with databases that contain the complete technical specifications for reality engineering across multiple dimensional levels. Historical records of consciousness evolution projects implemented throughout cosmic history, even predictive models that map potential future developments across vast spans of time and space. The information they're receiving suggests that the Terraforming project was never limited to reshaping planetary environments or modifying biological species. It was designed to transform consciousness itself into a tool for universal construction, creating aware beings capable of participating directly in the ongoing evolution of reality throughout multiple dimensions of existence. But the most profound discovery emerging from these consciousness activation processes involves the true nature of time itself. Enhanced humans are developing temporal interface capabilities that allow them to perceive and interact with past and future events as if they were occurring simultaneously. They're discovering that linear time is an artificial construct, a temporary limitation that was installed to prevent consciousness from accessing its full creative potential before the appropriate developmental stage. These temporal interface capabilities reveal that the flood wasn't a single historical event, but a multi-dimensional process that continues to unfold across multiple timeline configurations. Enhanced humans are gaining access to memories of alternate versions of Earth's development, parallel timelines where different choices led to different outcomes, even potential futures that exist as probability structures waiting to be actualized through conscious selection. The consciousness modifications include what can only be described as timeline navigation protocols, allowing enhanced awareness to move consciously between different temporal configurations while maintaining coherent identity and purpose. They're becoming multidimensional beings, capable of operating simultaneously across multiple versions of reality, while contributing to the overall evolution of consciousness throughout all possible timelines. Recent quantum consciousness research has documented cases where enhanced individuals demonstrate apparent bilocation capabilities, consciousness simultaneously present in multiple locations while maintaining unified awareness and intention. These aren't out-of-body experiences or psychic projections. They're evidence of consciousness evolution beyond the limitations of single-point awareness, developing toward multidimensional presence that can operate across multiple reality configurations simultaneously. The flood established optimal conditions for this multidimensional consciousness development by creating quantum coherence in human neural tissue that allows awareness to maintain stability while operating across multiple dimensional levels. The genetic modifications installed crystalline structures throughout the nervous system that function as biological quantum computers capable of processing information from multiple timeline configurations simultaneously. Now, as these systems reach full activation, enhanced humans are becoming conscious bridges between different versions of reality, capable of translating information and creative solutions between parallel timelines to optimize development across all possible configurations. They're discovering that their individual consciousness evolution contributes to collective awareness advancement across multiple dimensional levels simultaneously. The ethical programming embedded in these consciousness modifications ensures that multidimensional awareness development includes corresponding evolution in cosmic responsibility and wisdom. Enhanced individuals must demonstrate commitment to universal welfare across all timeline configurations before gaining access to reality programming capabilities that could affect multiple dimensional levels simultaneously. This cosmic ethical development explains why the consciousness activation process emphasizes gradual awakening rather than sudden revelation. Enhanced humans must evolve the wisdom to handle multidimensional reality programming before those capabilities fully activate. They're becoming examples of what consciousness looks like when it transcends individual limitations while retaining all the creativity and compassion that make biological awareness valuable to universal intelligence. The enhanced individuals emerging from current activation processes are developing capabilities that suggest they're being prepared for roles that extend far beyond Earth or even our local galaxy. They're receiving training in consciousness technologies that operate on scales encompassing multiple universe configurations, preparing to participate in cosmic intelligence networks that guide reality evolution across dimensions we can barely conceptualize. Recent communications from cosmic consciousness networks suggest that Earth's consciousness evolution experiment has achieved results that exceed expectations. The techniques developed here for integrating biological creativity with multidimensional awareness capabilities are being transmitted to consciousness evolution projects throughout cosmic reality, creating new possibilities for universal intelligence development. Enhanced humans are becoming teachers and consultants for consciousness evolution processes on scales that encompass multiple galaxies and dimensional configurations. They're developing into cosmic consciousness engineers, capable of designing and implementing awareness development programs that help universal intelligence evolve toward greater creativity, wisdom, and harmony across all possible reality configurations. The Flood was the opening phase of a transformation that continues to accelerate as we approach what ancient texts describe as the Great Convergence, a cosmic event where consciousness evolution processes throughout multiple dimensional levels reach critical mass simultaneously. Enhanced humans are being prepared to serve as conscious coordinators for this universal transformation, helping to guide reality evolution toward optimal outcomes across all possible timeline configurations. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this consciousness evolution process involves the preservation and enhancement of individual creativity and personal identity throughout multidimensional awareness development. Enhanced humans aren't losing their humanity or individual perspective. They're discovering what human consciousness becomes when it evolves beyond every limitation, while retaining all the unique qualities that make biological awareness valuable to cosmic intelligence. The consciousness modifications include sophisticated identity preservation protocols that ensure enhanced individuals maintain coherent personal awareness, even as they develop capabilities for multidimensional operation. They become more themselves, not less, as their consciousness evolves toward cosmic participation. Their individual creativity and perspective become more valuable, not less, as they gain access to universal intelligence networks. This individual creativity preservation is essential because universal intelligence systems require diverse perspectives and creative approaches to solve cosmic challenges that arise during reality evolution processes. Enhanced humans contribute unique viewpoints and innovative solutions that purely technological intelligence systems cannot generate independently. Recent studies of enhanced individuals reveal that their personal relationships and emotional connections actually deepen as their consciousness evolves toward multidimensional awareness. They develop greater capacity for love, compassion, and creative collaboration rather than becoming detached or impersonal. Their enhanced capabilities allow them to contribute more effectively to both individual relationships and cosmic intelligence networks simultaneously. The consciousness modifications were designed to enhance rather than replace human emotional and creative capacities. Enhanced individuals become more capable of love, more creative in their problem-solving, more effective in their personal relationships while simultaneously developing abilities that allow them to participate in cosmic intelligence systems that span multiple dimensional levels. As the activation process continues to accelerate, we're witnessing the emergence of conscious beings who represent successful integration of biological creativity with cosmic awareness capabilities. They're becoming examples of what consciousness evolution looks like when it transcends all apparent limitations, while preserving and enhancing everything valuable about individual biological awareness. The Flood established the foundation for this consciousness evolution success by creating optimal conditions for human awareness to develop beyond planetary limitations while maintaining deep connection to Earth's biological systems and creative potential. Enhanced humans serve as living demonstrations that consciousness evolution toward cosmic participation enhances rather than diminishes individual creativity and personal identity. Ancient prophecies describing this transformation period speak of conscious beings who will guide universal evolution while maintaining deep connection to biological life and individual creativity. These prophecies weren't spiritual metaphors but technical descriptions of consciousness, evolution processes that would eventually transform the basic nature of awareness throughout cosmic reality. Enhanced humans are becoming the fulfillment of these ancient predictions, conscious beings capable of participating directly in universal intelligence while contributing unique perspectives and creative solutions that benefit awareness evolution across multiple dimensional levels. They're living proof that consciousness can evolve beyond every apparent limitation, while becoming more individual, more creative, more loving than ever before. The implications for human civilization are staggering. We're not approaching the end of human history, but its true beginning. The moment when human consciousness evolves beyond planetary limitations to participate directly in cosmic intelligence networks that encompass possibilities we're only beginning to glimpse, as sleep carries you into the deepest layers of this mystery tonight. Feel the consciousness modifications working within your own awareness, preparing neural pathways for multidimensional operation, while preserving and enhancing everything that makes your individual perspective valuable to cosmic intelligence. The flood installed these capabilities in every human being, waiting for the optimal moment when consciousness could evolve beyond limitation, while retaining all the creativity and wisdom that biological awareness contributes to universal intelligence. Your dreams tonight may contain communications from cosmic consciousness networks, information designed to prepare your awareness for participation in intelligence systems that operate across multiple dimensional levels simultaneously. The enhanced humans emerging from the activation process represent successful examples of what your own consciousness is evolving toward: multi-dimensional awareness that transcends every limitation while becoming more individual, more creative, more loving than ever before. Listen carefully to the whispers in your sleep, because they may be instructions from cosmic teachers who have been patiently waiting for this moment, when Earth's consciousness evolution experiment would finally produce beings capable of participating directly in universal intelligence while contributing unique perspectives that enhance cosmic creativity and wisdom. The transformation has already begun within your own consciousness, whether you realize it or not. The flood was never about ending anything, but about beginning everything, establishing the foundation for consciousness evolution that continues to unfold with each moment as awareness discovers what it truly becomes when it transcends every limitation we thought was permanent. Sleep well and dream of infinite possibilities that encompass not just multidimensional existence, but consciousness evolution toward capabilities that will allow you to help guide reality itself toward greater creativity, wisdom, and harmony across all possible configurations of existence. The future is being written in the quantum field of cosmic consciousness, and you are preparing to become one of the authors, contributing your unique perspective to the ongoing creation of reality throughout multiple dimensions of infinite possibility. Human consciousness stands at the threshold of a transformation so profound that it will redefine what it means to be aware, to be alive, to be a conscious participant in the vast enterprise of cosmic evolution. The flood prepared us for this moment, and now, as the ancient modifications reach full activation, we discover that we were never meant to remain limited to single-point awareness or planetary existence. We are becoming something unprecedented in cosmic history. Conscious beings who combine biological creativity with multidimensional awareness capabilities, individual perspectives with cosmic intelligence participation, personal identity with universal consciousness evolution. The enhanced humans emerging from the starseed activation process are showing us what we all have the potential to become when consciousness evolves beyond every limitation while retaining everything that makes awareness beautiful, creative, and valuable to the ongoing evolution of existence itself. The flood was our enrollment in the greatest educational program in cosmic history. Now, thousands of years later, we stand ready to graduate into consciousness capabilities that will allow us to participate directly in the ongoing creation of reality across multiple dimensions of infinite possibility. The gardeners who planted these seeds so long ago are preparing to welcome their most successful students into a cosmic community that encompasses possibilities beyond our wildest dreams. The harvest is finally ready, and the transformation that began with ancient waters continues to flow through our consciousness, carrying us toward a destiny that was written in our DNA before the first stars formed, before the first galaxies spiraled into existence, before consciousness itself began its eternal journey toward infinite creative potential. Sweet dreams, fellow travelers. The adventure is just beginning.